All right, Deep sir. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, welcome to
Good to be
Bags.
here.
Of course, sir. Bags to Riches is a platform for people like you to share your stories and empower more international students coming in so that they have a clearer picture of what they're in for, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, before you start, let me just kind of stop you right there. And bags and riches to me, it doesn't apply to me because I literally started with no bags, and I'll tell you why.
really?
Because the day I landed on this in this country, 17 August 2011, I landed in Boston, and all of my bags were lost. Like because I had a connecting flight from New York, and all of my bags were sent to Philadelphia. That's instead of Boston. So like I started without bags
Okay.
and riches. I don't think I'm there yet, but yeah. But no, I'm still good to be here.
It's
Still
a
good to be
it's a
here.
process, right? It's
It's a
the end
process.
goal. So
Yeah.
I am sure with your career progression, where it is looking, you've already made it. You're just being modest. We'll try and unfold it here. Don't worry about that. But yeah, before we go to the good part of how you made it through, I want to track back a little to understand what were the challenges you went through after coming here, and what shift it made in your life.
Yeah. Um, well, challenges. I mean, if there were many challenges, right? I think, as I said, like just I gave you the example, the day I landed, it started literally the moment I landed in the US. Um, Somebody I had connected over Facebook that time, 2011, again, still the days of Facebooks and stuff, right? Um, I had connected to someone from the university who was going to come pick me up and drop me off at this temporary accommodation place that I had booked all through Facebook. That guy didn't show up because he got busy with the work or something. So there I am without bags, like waiting for someone who was not going to come and pick me up. And then I had to find a way to book a cab again, no Uber. So again, I'm dating myself, but it is still like the challenges start the day you land here. So and I didn't have connections, but I had built connections after coming here. I had some, but like not a lot. But that's okay. That was not the challenge. I think that is like the smallest of the smallest challenge, right? That I was like, I laugh about that. Uh, and I also laughed about it at then too, right? That's why I was able to actually move on. The one challenge that I want to talk about, right? I think which some people might be facing, especially the ones who've come to US and who have done their schoolings in India in non-English medium schools, right? I think that's something that I know a lot of people faces here. I mean, you barely passed your TOEFL and IELTS or whatever now you give, right, to actually get an admission. You come here, um, and then you realize now, like now what? Because you can't make your career, you can't make it until you you blend into the culture, and you can't do that unless you speak the language properly. And so yeah, I mean that is some of the challenge because I learned like through and through. I went to Gujarati medium school right in India. I mean, I'm from Gujarat, and again learned spoke broken English. Grew up in Gujarat, like not so cosmopolitan area. You don't find people from all other places, so never had a reason to learn English. And I did my school, my undergrad school in Gujarat too, where even though the curriculum was in English, but everybody was speaking Gujarati because literally there was no need. Um, and then somehow I made it, right? Somehow I passed the TOEFL with the bare minimum marks, and I made it to Boston. And then I realized, what the hell? I mean, understanding the local people here and surviving the day was difficult. And your comfort level would be just falling back on hanging out with the Indian people or the people that that you can actually easily converse to and speak to, right? But then that doesn't give you the global perspective. That doesn't give you the exposure that you wanted, the what you came here for. So I mean, but I realized it that very soon, right? I realized my shortcoming very soon. I started working on it. as soon as possible. And what I did, again, there was no rocket science. There isn't a course. There isn't anything like, you just have to sort of like in your daily life, you have to embed, you have to incorporate this into your daily life. I I purposefully took jobs where I was customer facing, where I was actually talking to people. Like this is, I'm talking about the on-campus job, the jobs that you actually do while you're working, right, to just pay
Right.
your bills and give rent. Um, and yeah, I started a job in a cafeteria in a university that I went to in Boston. Um, um, and I was a barista. I was a sandwich maker. I used to make sandwiches for people. But like just I would talk to them. I would converse with them. And like, how are you doing and all of that. And I mean that's how you start, right? Basically that's how you learn. Like you basically you hear them every day in and out, and you try to capture that. So that's how I actually learn. And this is how. But that also helps. But this is again, this might be the simplest thing for a lot of people who come from English medium and who have actually come from big cities in India. But that's not like I know there are people who actually face this issue a lot. So that's like, this is for them, right? I mean, don't be afraid. This is nothing like, just go out, talk to people. Like nobody, you are in America, you're not in like some snobby country. As long as you can converse confidently, you're good. You're sorted. So yeah, so that's basically what it did was like as soon as I started conversing with them, even though like my English didn't improve significantly, right, or right away, right? But what improved was my confidence,
Hmm.
right, in speaking to people, in talking to them. Like I wasn't afraid that, hey, how am I going to actually come across? Are they going to understand me? No, they will, and they did, right? So that the confidence was the key that got improved over and over, more and more. I got into this kind of jobs, talk to people, and especially in our field, in my field, where I always have to talk in my job. Like it's all about talking. It's all about convincing someone, negotiating with someone. It's nothing like, I don't silo myself at work. I can't. That's not my job. Um, so yeah, I mean, so those are the things that I did, and I think and I keep doing it to this state, right? Like, try to get out of your comfort zone. Like, don't just hang out with Indian people. Don't just hang out with like your own community. Like, go out and hang out with others, where you can you can also sort of like some sort of cultural exchange, a language
Hmm.
exchange, and that's how you learn a lot. I mean,
Right.
yeah. So
And
yeah, that's yeah.
how is
Go ahead.
that difference in culture and involving yourself with people of different cultures has helped you not just not just personally but also professionally in your life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a big time, right? Because you will never be successful at a work if you just go do your job and leave, and you're not trying to get into the fabric of the office culture or the work culture, right? And I have strong opinions about that. Like somebody can disagree with it, so be it. But that's how I feel, right? So doing that, right, having that cross cultural connections, and uh, like even though, for example, I'll tell you very very basic example, the American football, right?
Hmm.
I didn't understand it. Right? When I started going into office, that is like the American football culture, the football culture in US is a huge, enormous, right? And if you're a fan, like it increases the kind of conversation topics you can do at work, over the water cooler. Just like you get into all this, like different um, uh, brackets and all of that, like we play at work, right? And then that's how you build connections too. So I, again, like always watch sports, but we made an effort, like me and my friends made an effort to actually learn about American football. And we were lucky to be in Boston, and Boston was at the time, the New England Patriots was the best football team. So we started going to games, we started learning the games and trying to understand the games. And we got it. And then honestly, like we were having fun, and we became like one of the like very very huge fans of it. And me and my friend, we would like have all this like and we both were colleagues at the office, and we would have this friendly quarrel or fight with our other colleagues who are supporting different teams. And
Right.
we always, there's something to talk about, right? I mean, we got invited to, like, happy hours, and like when we go to happy hour, we can talk about something. We
Right.
don't, like, because typically as a non like as a non-immigrant or as a foreign person, if you go to this happy hours, all the conversation sometimes comes around like like how you, like, how is your culture, and like all about that, like, what you guys did in India and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to talk about that every time. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be reminded of my non-immigrant status and like me being Indian, and that's not my identity. So yeah, so I mean, that's how it helped me to know more about different cultures and trying to like share that experience with others.
Right. The biggest one I get is your was your marriage arranged? As like first, I'm not married.
Yeah,
Second, that doesn't apply to every Indian that you see.
exactly, right. I mean, like all those,
That's
but
so funny though.
that's the
Uh,
thing, right? Like and they're gonna ask you, like there are people who are gonna ask you stereotype, like, have those kind of stereotypes. They'll ask you questions, and
yeah,
you just have to find a way to, like,
yeah. Just
address it.
take it off.
Like, don't get offended all the time. I mean, sometimes they're
Right.
just curious, but so that it doesn't happen,
Yeah.
right? You
Mhm.
have to be able to talk about something else with them
Correct.
besides work and
Yeah.
besides you being Indian. So
Yeah. And I think I was listening to this talk, and the thing that really hooked me in was how important when we talk about the advertisement culture, right? In anywhere across the world, what sells the most is the advertisement which is the most familiar yet surprising to the public. So I think familiarizing yourself if you're coming to a new country, point being, if you're coming here, you need to make an effort to understand their culture, because what you said is very powerful. Coming from India, where you have been in not an English speaking English medium school, right? I have had friends myself, and they face the same issue as you said, but they resist to go out of their comfort zone, right? And that's where the growth is. If you don't go out, if you came all these miles out of India, all the best you can do is to understand where you're going. And if you can't connect to the people, eventually you're going to fall out, right? You really need to make yourself familiar with the know-hows and the workarounds in the US if you want to be first a really good friend, second, just a good colleague who is fun to talk to and things like that. So that goes a long way. And kudos to you that you have managed to do it because not a lot of people do. So
it's
congratulations.
also, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, see, it's a matter of choice too. I mean, I also know people whose job didn't survive on them being good communicator, and and they didn't want to leave their comfort zone, and they just wanted to stay like that. They're making great amount of money right now, but just that's what they do only, right? They just go to work, they make money, they're good at their job, right? I mean, they're in the computer engineering and all those fields where you don't actually have to communicate a lot. So it it works out for certain people, but you still like, but then if that's your choice, if that's how you want to be, right? Then like suit yourself. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
yep.
I guess if you just want to be, uh, you know, specifically bind to the community that you want to be, and then yeah, I guess it's subjective to a person on whether they want to do it or not. But I always appreciate people who go out of their comfort zone to understand new things and try to, learn as they
Yeah,
go in a new
exactly.
culture, in a new society.
Yeah.
Uh, so so that's great. And when we talk about after you came here in 2011, right? You completed your master's and then you joined a company as a contractor. But that was just the beginning of your career because I know you have made a lot of career pivots throughout. As an international, I have not seen people doing that because they feel very safe and secure where they are, And with the visa challenges that they face, they do not want to take any further risks. So how did you manage to do it?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Like just also through my friends and all. This is again, I think I've never let. I mean, this sometimes it comes naturally to someone, and I I was fortunate to sort of like have it already in me that I never let the immigrant status sort of like define me in a way that I seek opportunities. So that's why from the moment I landed, I started getting trying to try getting myself into the fabric of the culture, because I also hate reminding myself that hey, I'm an immigrant. So how did I do that, right? I mean, I think it's in beginning it was out of like because I didn't have choice,
Hmm.
and then it became sort of thing that I just wanted to do in order to get ahead, or not, maybe get ahead is may not be the right word, just sort of have my career progressed in certain ways.
Right.
So I'll just tell you and then we can deep dive on a particular topic you want to talk about. But the I I was having like I it was difficult getting a job right after the grad school,
Hmm.
because my field, like what I do, like I'm a regulatory affairs professional in a pharmaceutical industry. This is the field where people in the US, they don't go straight to this field right after the college, right after the school. They go, they do some technical job, they do become scientist, or they become a process development person, or they become a clinical research person, or some sort of technical field, and then they gain some experience, and then they get into regulatory affairs, right? That's how the typical, most people have actually gotten into regulatory like that. I was trying to come into regulatory without having any technical experience, right? Like I did my bachelor's in India, like I graduated in 2011 with Bachelor of Pharmacy. I came to US in 2011. 2013, I graduated with Masters of Science and Regulatory Affairs. And then I'm applying for these jobs. But I'm competing with people who are already have experience. They probably didn't have masters, but who cares, right? I mean, they have
Right.
experience and they were trying to
Yeah.
get. So it was, yeah. So I think that was the challenge I was facing. So I kind of, but then I didn't try to fight it because I knew I was going to, it was going to be difficult for me to land a perfect job that I was waiting for. And it didn't work out for me. So what I did was, okay, how do I get into that job with another job? As in, like, can I get a foot in the door, right?
Hmm.
Through some random like low paying or easiest job ever, and then
Right.
actually work my way up to that job after building connection. So that's what I did. So
Hmm.
my very first job was actually literally a job, you could probably say an intern, or like contractor is also it's actually overselling it. It was a so I was working at Pfizer, no doubt. That was the client, but the company that I was working for, they were paying me literally like $15 an hour. I'll just tell you that. And that's the last time talking about salaries, because we don't talk about that. But that's what I was getting paid. I was getting paid more in my on-campus job at Northeastern. But that's okay, it didn't bother me. I was like, okay, I got into that company, and I worked I quit that job before getting my first paycheck, because that company was paying monthly. I mean, let me just kind of give you that context. But like I literally left that job because then I got another job which was basically paying me double than what I was making. But then I had to relocate to Chicago for that.
Mm.
But it was similar kind of work. I was still a contractor. I was still doing literally one thing over and over and over and over again. In regulatory world, maybe if your listeners are any of the regulatory profession, they would understand. It's called regulatory publishing, which is sort of like a very it's a documentation work. It's formatting, right? I mean, it's a Word document, all of that. That was not like that. That is not what I came here for. But that
Hmm.
was my way into the industry, and I got it. And then as soon as I got into that, and me being already ambitious person, I started making connection within the company, and me being extrovert also helped me. So I started making connection within the company,
Hmm.
and I going out on lunches with someone, just trying to having a conversation, and just sort of showing them that they can trust me, and and I'm a good worker, and I'm a hard worker, and I'm ambitious, and all of that, and just like also just pure sometime. But that landed me another job basically, and that was the true strategy job. That was my first job into a regulatory CMC, but in generics, right? But again, it is still generics was also not my plan A, but it is still I'm still trying to get to where I want to go through
Right.
this, right?
Right.
Like you just have to go, like you're not gonna reach there right away. You have to kind of jump through the hoops to get there, and these are the hoops that I had to jump through. So yeah, I mean that's how I. But then and then so these were the time like which I had to actually make the pivots because I wanted to actually, and also like I also had visa because I was still on OPT at that time,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I wanted to find a place who would file an H1B for me because my course doesn't offer STEM. That was a challenge that I didn't have a STEM extension.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just 1 year I get OPT, and if I don't file, if the H1B is not being filed or if I'm not picked up, then I'm screwed. But luckily, the connection I built at my second company, who landed me a job at another company, helped me file an H1B. So I got into that, and then like the few moves after that was basically trying to navigate the visa situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before I actually got into the like more niche area, like with the new molecular
Right.
entities, where I actually really wanted to enjoying the work. And then I started making career switch because I wanted to, not because I had to.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think, and how did I do? Like, why did I, like, I mean, I I never got comfortable at any workplace because I knew that that was not my end game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I also like a lot of people also telling me like, why are you doing this? Like, just get your green card from this one company who's filed your H1B and then just go. And then I look at the stat. I was like, if I am waiting for green card, I'm gonna be here 30 years maybe or even more. I'll probably retire here. This is not my end game. Why would I do that? Right? Like I just had that kind of attitude at that time, and the company was still ready to file a green card, but I actually declined that. No, I would go and get my green card filed at the company where I want to stay longer. But that also sort of came back and bit me in the ass at the later on, and which we can also talk about it later. But but yeah, I mean it's sort of like what is your end game, and and are you comfortable? And no one should be comfortable in their first job. I mean it's just like there has to be an end game, right? Like you can't like typically in 99% case doesn't happen that you land the dream job in your first attempt,
Right.
right? So that's basically how I looked at it, and I just try to chase what I wanted to do, and that's how I get it. Like like kept making career pivots to do that, and I didn't let my immigration status bother me.
So, what was your end game, and have you already achieved it now?
No, I am not.
You have not.
I have not. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, like my end game keeps changing, which is okay, right? I mean, your end game is always going to keep changing, like as the world evolve and as everything around you evolves. Like my life evolves, like and I'm being married and like father to a beautiful daughter. It is always going to change, right? Your end game, but you will know at the moment you will know what's your end game, and you will just work towards that. Um, so yeah, I think.
So, what is Deep
Yeah.
Shah working towards now?
See, I think right now in this environment, I'm just trying to survive in the biotech industry, right? Because it's a pretty choppy waters right now where we are heading. What I'm working towards is literally, I'm trying to build something meaningful in the cell and gene therapy field because I feel like I've found my niche,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've found an area where I actually literally it gives me it like a reason me to kind of wake up in the morning to go to work. I want to be able to do it for broad population. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing right now is for a very small population, maybe only for the class of people who can afford this kind of treatment. At some point, I want to do it for like general population, mainly for like developing countries like India and Asia and other Africa, all those countries where like this can go. So that's my like that's what I'm working towards. But again, like ask me in maybe 2 years, it might change.
Right. And Deep, actually, when you say that, me getting into the biotech industry, into the pharmaceutical industry, biopharmaceutical industry, also has a very personal reason to it, right? Because I lost my grandmother to cancer, and
Yeah.
that's what got me into research. And I did oncology research for 4+ years. And I understood that research is not what I want to do, but I still want to serve a population which is going through this. After coming to the US, what really shocked me is when I got into cell and gene therapy, which is very fascinating to me. It's an amazing field to be in, very cutting edge, and a lot of advances yet to come, but it will come, in my opinion. Uh, but when I look at the cures now, it is more than like 150,000 for one dose. And that is how the policies are being lodged and things like that. But when I try to get this translated to countries like India, and that has also been a dream of mine to make healthcare affordable for such rare diseases, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, so dreams are simple, but they are not easy, is
Yeah.
what I've learned.
Absolutely. That's a good term. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, it is. It is not. If it was a simple, everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Oh,
easy.
sorry. If it was easy, everybody
Yeah,
would be doing it. But yeah. Um, but no, I am sorry to hear about your grandmother.
that's all good. It's
It,
all good.
it is like again. I think uh, like everybody around me wanted me to be a doctor growing up. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I just said yes because I was like, that will get them off me and not ask this question. I just back of my mind would have if I had what it took to become a doctor. Had I done it, I don't think I had. Right? I mean, because that like doctors give you like again me having strong opinions, right? I mean, some of your listeners might hate it. Doctors get instant gratification from treating a one person at a time.
Hmm.
What you do is going to give you maybe it will not give you instant gratification,
It's a delayed
like
gratification.
yeah, but it will like when it reaches to people, it will be a huge impact, and that's what mattered to me, and a hell lot of respect for doctors. One of my best friends is a doctor, right? Um, but uh, but yeah, it just that's how I see it, right? So
Right.
that's why I got into this.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was by chance. I always wanted to be a doctor, but as you know, it's super competitive to be a doctor back in India and also in the US. So I kind of tried my first attempt. I didn't go through it. It didn't happen for me at that time, and that's why I chose the second best option, that was biotechnology. Uh, but as I tried mature into this field, like I got to realize that I can do so much better. And one of the best instances for that is vaccines now, right? It has all been biotechnologically driven. So that has been a kickstarter for me to realize that, oh, there is so much good that you can do even without being in touch with the patient. So
Exactly.
yeah, I know you've been in the generic pharmaceutical phase, companies. But what made you switch to monoclonal antibodies and now cell and gene therapy? Why did you change your careers now?
I mean, I think it all sort of goes back to. I mean, this might sound a cliche answer, but it's not actually. I truly believe in it. I mean, I didn't think I was making a difference, and I'll tell you why I think that. I mean, generics are great. Like I feel like without generics, like I mean the country, I mean most medications that you'll end up taking in your life, right? And hopefully not that much, none of us, but it will most likely like 95% of that is going to be generic. So generic companies and generic drugs sort of runs, right? I mean that they make healthcare affordable everywhere you go. So again, it's a great thing to do. I felt like I was not making difference because I was not working towards new cures or
Mm-hmm.
new treatments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or things that actually that have been either overlooked or people are still chasing it. Like I wanted to actually feel that kind of rush. Uh, so it didn't give me that kick inside, right? I mean, like I was doing work, I was getting money, I was getting paid, I was paying my bills, I paid off my education loan, all of that using the money that I got from working in generics companies. So really, that they gave me the strongest foundation, right, in this country. But then at some point, I realized, okay, now I actually want to work on something which which is for me, which gives me like interest. Because when I was in generics, honestly, now. Um, I mean, a lot of the like I think two of the companies I worked for is no longer exist. Um, but I literally like I there was just I go there like I I work hardly because you get your work done in most professions. You get your work done in like mere few hours, and then you're just like
Mm-hmm.
doing other things, right? So that's what I did at generics, man. I didn't actually work that hard. I got through it, but at some point it just started getting boring. Like it wasn't meaningful, and yeah, and that's how I got into. And then that's why I mean, even finding a job into monoclonal antibody with generics experience was hard because why would I hire somebody who had
Yep.
no monoclonal antibody experience and they
Yep.
want to do regulatory CMC? Regulatory CMC is a tough field in a way. You kind of have to be technical without being technical.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it's different when it comes to biologics and to
Yeah,
API pharmaceuticals. There is a very big difference also when it comes to the regulation and the strictness
yeah.
of it.
So I and I'll give you like I'll give pointers to your listeners to what I did. I found a company which does both, right?
Okay. Mm.
Right. So don't like try to like look for those kind of creative ideas to get into this.
Mm.
So I found a company which does both, and I actually got onto their NDA program, which was also 505(b)(2), which is sort of very close to generic.
Mm-hmm.
So my all of my skills were applicable. So what it did was it got me into that company. But as soon as I got into that company, literally in a month, I already told my boss, "Hey, I really wanted to work on biologics. Like that's my developmental opportunity. Give me a project." And I kept harassing him that hey you need to give me a project, and he did, right. He just gave me one. I was like so that I shut the hell up, and he did. And that's how I learned about biologics. And literally that's my first, I mean baby in like in the industry, which is like my molecule that I worked on. It which is doing great right now. It's a MASP3 inhibitor. It's called zaltenibart. It's for a company called Omeros Corporation, and it's doing wonder for autoimmune indications. Like they're already in phase three for multiple indications. They're trying to actually cure, well, not cure, treat, where basically your own immune system protects your body and your organ starts going down. So yeah, I mean that's how I got into like that company and then ultimately to biologics. And then during that time, like how I got into cell and gene therapy might be a little bit of longer answer, so bear with me. I mean, maybe I'll just give you a short snippet and then you can ask me more like
Sure. Yeah.
focused questions. So um, I after I got into the company, like one thing I always like, even when generics, what I did, which I didn't actually capture, is like how active I was also externally, right? And that is like me being extrovert came in handy. So I started going to conferences, right? Conference is a great place to actually meet new people. And I always wanted to do that, like just make new friends, meet new people, build connections. So I carried that on. And when I came to just biologics, I went my boss and kudos to him. He introduced to me this conference called CASS WCBP, which means Well Characterized Biotechnology Product. So this is the conference happens every January in DC, 4-day conference, amazing global conference. It is one of the premier conference that talks about the CMCs and regulatory and all of it for antibodies and proteins and stuff. So went to the conference first time, literally that was in 20 December, sorry, January of 2020, actually, I went to that conference. So I might have actually gotten COVID then, which I did now that I think about it, because that's when the COVID started. And we did actually meet because it was a global conference. We were
Right.
and literally I flew back and then the whole thing started, right? So but I met few people because CAS has also a second conference which happens in June July timeframe, which is called CGTP, Cell and Gene Therapy Product Symposium, another like premier conference. And I I already met people, right, through that WCBP, and then I started talking with them, and cell and gene therapy was already up and about. Like the first CAR T program had just approved at that time, right, Kimbraya and Yescarta. So I was already like, hey, by the way, like I'm just learning biologics, and now I also know I want to do this too, right? I mean, just me being that ambitious. So this is the great thing, right? You can just cure somebody. Like literally, your cancers got melted using this cell. Like how fascinating. And yeah, and then I just started like externally. Basically, this all happened externally. I started talking to a few people about it and started learning more about it without having any interviews lined up. Nothing. I was not even planning to look for a job. I was just wanted to learn it just for my own sake. Started writing stuff down, like how CAR-T works, like and what are the challenges that the CMC for CAR-T faces and all of that. And then how it came handy was there is a startup called Lyle Immunopharma in Seattle. They were looking for somebody to come in as the first regulatory hire for the company. Like literally first regulatory hire. It was a low level, like the manager level role, and they just wanted somebody. And I thought it was a long shot. Like, why would they hire somebody uh, who have no cell therapy experience to be their first regulatory person when they don't have anybody else, right? I mean, you would probably want people with regulatory like the cell and gene therapy experience, no? I mean,
Yeah. But I
and I,
feel, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry. No, I feel cell and gene therapy itself is so new, and the regulations are always like updating at the speed of the
yeah,
advancements at every time. So I think that probably be the reason on why they were not looking for someone specific to cell and gene therapy. But sorry, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, no, I think, and you're right. I mean, that also definitely played a part, right? Because they didn't get a lot of people who had
Yeah.
experience with that. Um, and I, but I applied, and luckily I got an interview. But then I had to nail that interview down, right? I had to convince them that hey, I'm the right person for it, even though I don't have the experience for it.
Hmm.
And then like having that homework done preemptively, like through that external conferences that I had attended, helped me a lot. So I already told them like this is what I already know without actually working on this field. Imagine what I can do when I actually do get to work on this field. And yeah, and they bought it.
Nice.
And I delivered. Dude, they gave me promotion in 8 months without asking for it.
Oh, nice. Look at
So
you.
I mean, I did something, right? Again, tooting my own
Yeah, of
horn,
course.
but you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's how I got from generics to antibody to cell and gene.
Right. Oh, that's a pretty solid story right there. Because when you're talking about this, I was thinking about students trying to make that switch and how they can do it. So you kind of very well uh, touched up on all the points on what they can do is one to attend conferences because conferences are such it's such a great way to meet industry professionals in whatever you're interested in. I went to this conference recently for cell and gene therapy itself, and I met such amazing people in there. And what I was surprised by was there were undergrads of UC Berkeley in that conference trying to network as well. So any student coming in, you all you gotta do is just be in that conference. If you do nothing, you're gonna learn so much about the upcoming therapies in the industry. Whatever industry you are in, just try and get into conferences. Second is how your network can be used to get a job which you weren't even looking for. Sometimes opportunities just show up at your doorstep and all you got to do is accept it. Now, of course, you worked for it, you researched and things like that, but if you wouldn't have been there in the first place, there wouldn't have been that opportunity, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So that those are some good key points and key takeaways for anyone who would be listening to this. But when you talk about cell and gene therapy space now that you are in here now, how many years is that again? 2 years? 2.5 years?
Oh, in the field itself, no, I've been here, what, 2025, 4, 5 years, give or take.
4 5 years in cell and gene therapy. I'm sure you have, so on the regulatory base, regulation sides, you have to understand all the new things coming up, all the new regulations that the FDA is applying. So what are the major changes you have seen in CGT industry when you started out to now? And what is the most fascinating one that you can think of for you?
Um, so this is the most evolving field I've ever seen, right? And that's sort of why I thrive in it, because you kind of constantly have to keep yourself up to date. Um, the reason also I sort of thrive in this field is because cell and gene therapy is, or was, or I mean, still is uncharted territory in many ways, right? There is no precedent, there is no blue book, there is no, sorry, blueprint, I meant to say. There is no, um, it's not a cookie cutter drug development. Um, it is very new. It is novel, and you get to chart a path,
Yeah.
right? That people might follow in the future. So that is the most exciting part, I would say, and that is why I thrive in it, because I used to do that in generics and biologics, where I tried challenging the norm
Hmm.
or the status quo, and I got called out for it. I was like, why are you like, this has been done and dusted. It's been
Yeah.
tested. It's a well-oiled machine. Like, why do you wanna like just follow what we are saying and don't ask anything, right? So that's not how. But cell and gene therapy, no, they want me to work on, like, how can I get this done? Like,
Yeah.
you find a new way. So that's basically, again, I just wanted, like, one point for your listener, like, who wants to come in cell and gene therapy. You have to be ready to um, um, challenge the status quo, and, like, think creatively and outside of the box, because there is no precedent. And if you are someone who are not comfortable with that, then CGT might not be your forte. I'm just putting it out there. What are the exciting things and the things have evolved? Of course, like, back in 20, like, it's only 4 or 5 years, but, like, things have changed significantly.
Right.
Um, 4 or 5 years ago, there were not many approved therapies. Now there are many approved therapies, but most of them are CAR T, right? So it's some same modality being approved over and over again. So of course you see, like, once FDA has approved so many CAR Ts, they are definitely going to raise their bar a little bit, because now they have more experience. So you see, like, in a way, a little bit of more expectations on the CMC, and also from clinical standpoint on certain some of these Me Too therapies now. And when I say Me Too therapy, it's like, if you have another CD19 CAR T program for B cell malignancy, that would be a Me Too therapy. Or if you have
Okay.
another BCMA CAR T program for multiple myeloma, that's a Me Too therapy, because there's already been more than one in the
Okay.
market. So now FDA is going to ask for more. Like, they're not just going to let, like, anybody come in and ask for etc. So
Right.
that is the one change I see making. See, with FDA having more and more experience with it, there also being more guidance. The challenge is the guidance still, like, we still try to, like, combine cell and gene into this one modality, which is not.
Not, yeah.
Like, cell therapy is a different modality, gene therapy is a different modality. Within cell, CAR T cell therapy is a different modality, embryonic stem cell is a different modality,
Correct.
IPS is a different modality, right? So all of these have different challenges, right? And they can't be combined into one guidance document. So even expecting that is actually like, it's a stupid idea. So, um, but yeah, so some more guidance available, but we still have long ways to go before FDA can make everything available, and probably they'll never be able to. So that I'll say. And the most fascinating thing that I've seen is, well, I think that's so many, but um,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's such a cutting edge technology, right? When you even talk about CAR T cells, like every day I read news and there is some CAR T cell news, maybe like one that failed, one that passed, and they're like all the time. I also want to talk about the gene therapy because gene therapy has been questioned a lot lately on because there have been put in investment for over like 10, 12 years without actually a viable product. Like there is no MVP as of now, which is
Hmm.
very effective. So where do you see that industry going towards now? Since it's gonna have a major pivot from what they have been doing now, where do you, according to you, where do you see that going?
I feel like I mean, you learn from your mistakes. I don't think gene therapy is done. I don't like you will see a lot of people saying that. I understand like the most recent example of Elevidis and how it led to death of like unfortunate death of boys with the Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Really horrible thing, right? I mean, it's uh, I hope we can learn and the industry can learn from it, and I'm sure they will, right?
Hmm.
But that's not the end of gene therapy. There are multiple applications of gene therapy. I mean, there are Luxturna has been one of the first one approved, right, for the some eye disorder for for small children, and it's been doing okay. I mean, it's not MVP yet, but hey, it's still it has still helped patients.
Right.
Um, I mean, there are products which is being helpful. I mean, what we have to learn now is like how do we the good thing is that you know why this failed, right? This particular therapy. Now, how do you overcome that, right? I mean, is it a gene delivery? Is it like more targeted gene therapy? I mean, that doesn't end up in liver all the time, or something else, right? I mean, that has to be a like we will. I mean, the way the pace that this industry is going, I'm sure we'll learn more from it,
Hmm.
and you're still going to see more AAV gene therapy companies popping up, right? It's
Right.
this is not going to stop them.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be a little bit dent right now, but this is gonna because like bigger picture, there
Hmm.
are benefits, right?
Right.
From this modality. So yeah, that I'm optimist for 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 this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to know because I was looking at this news and I was just looking at the graphs on how the investment has gone down tenfolds in the gene therapy industry and how it is kind of at its all-time low. But I've been talking to a lot of gene therapy professionals and they sound to be very optimistic about it. And I hope that's the case because it has so much potential. And it can cure so many diseases. And I think it's also very easy to develop. It's very easy to not just in the US, once you make it in the US, it's also easy to make anywhere else, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. Once you know the platform,
Right.
right? Once you have actually nailed down the platform, yes, it is easy to just kind of switch, right? The genes of interest, and you can actually use it for multiple disease. We have to address the safety concern first, right? And yes, the investment has been quite low for this field. In Bardic in general, right? I mean, to me, I think investment was actually more. It was actually more than it was supposed to be in the beginning of pandemic. So if you compare to that level, it's always going to be low because
Mm,
it shouldn't have been like that anyway in the first place. I mean,
mm,
companies in the preclinical stage without having any clinical, like literally not even having announced the candidate, getting like 400 $500 million series A and series B. That's crazy, right? I mean, you can't those days are gone,
mm.
like, and that was never like that is not the benchmark we should be compared against. So if you think about now, yes, I mean, of course there are money in the market, there's a lot of money in the market, and and the companies who have um, proven modalities or proven use case, they're getting the investment. So recent, actually just last Friday, dude, that's one CAR-T company got series A for $260 million
Really?
in yeah in based out of Philadelphia and San Francisco. So that tells you that hey, it's not all bad news.
Yeah, it's not bad news, but for me, the more I learn about the industry, the more I realize that there are only like big players in the market which are actually dictating on how the platform should be developed. And when they're doing the policy lobbying and things like that, they want to make sure that the products that they are working with have easier pathway to commercialization. So what are your thoughts on these big pharma influencing these policies, and how can small players, now that there are so many startups, some of them have failed, but there are still so many startups trying to get these cutting edge technologies which might eventually be acquired by big pharmas again. What is the importance of these companies in the industry now?
I mean, I think the good thing about cell and gene therapy is that not a lot of large pharma has that kind of expertise, or they offloaded those assets. So even in the lobbying front, they probably are not the one doing a lot of lobbying. So that's why I think you sort of like smaller companies has to come. I would say though, like the companies or the lobbying firm who does a lot of lobbying, like the organization like Bio or ARM, which is Alliance of Regenerative Medicine, right? Like there is not much representation from smaller companies because it's also costly to be involved with this, and with the finances as it is, people don't like, smaller companies doesn't want to actually involve in that. So that's where the companies may fail
Hmm.
lobbying for their own approach. But you are not like, again, I think every company has unique platform. Like you're not going to be able to actually lobby agency for all these different platforms because it's
Correct.
just impossible to do, right? So I
Yeah.
think somehow we have to sort of come together, right? I think there has to be a sort of like some common, like some common theme across all this, which like, even if you get that granted, or from the agency,
Hmm.
or regulatory authorities, I think that should be a win. But like, trying to lobby your way through your approvals is not going to work for cell and gene therapy. It just doesn't because there's just too many. So ultimately, data speaks, right? Ultimately, try to get your data as clean as possible, as um, early as possible, but also as compelling as possible, and then
Right.
lobby. Like then it won't matter if you're a small company or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's interesting because I lost my train of thought, but I had a very interesting comment to that. Because so when you say there is not much representation, right, uh, for the smaller companies in the cell therapy space, and
No,
again,
no, no. No, sorry, I meant not representation into the lobbying groups.
okay, got it.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
because there are top of my mind there are like two or three large players for lobbying. For cell and gene therapy, there are like there's this Oracle Bio. It's
Right, right.
Biotechnology
My
Innovation
innovation
Organization, Bio,
organization.
right?
Yeah.
And then second is ARM, Alliance of Regenerative Medicine, and then Pharma, PHRMA,
MA.
and right. So those are the things, right? So they
Right.
lobby
Yeah.
in on behalf of the industry. So there is less representation of small companies into those organizations for us to lobby.
Right. So when we talk about, do you think CDMOs for cell and gene therapy uh, drugs is still a long shot, or is it gonna come soon?
But CDMOs for there are many CDMOs for cell and gene therapies. Not all work though, because
Exactly.
yeah, because the reason is also this comes down to like every product being their own modality sometimes. So you try to like you try to over platform things, right? Like sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you're like, oh, we have this ant molecule, we have this idea. Can you actually fit into your platform? Hey, CDMO, can you do that? And CDMO will always say yes. Yeah, of course we can do it. And
Yeah.
then they screw it up.
Yeah.
So that's why I think you see some companies building their own manufacturing. And for certain cell therapy modalities, I would say that is wise and that is strategical because you can't like you would want to have as much control over the entire process end to end as you can, and
Okay.
CDMO won't allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if we wanna make it mass production, right? And if we wanna make this really big cell and gene therapy, do we see the protocols being constant? for all the different drugs over a point in time after we developed it enough, after we are like having advancements in this industry. So let's say, for example, a gene therapy drug, like five different gene therapy drugs can be produced with the same technology
Yeah,
in
it
the upcoming years.
it it is possible.
Okay.
Absolutely possible. It's a platform, right? So, I mean, but yeah, you need a lot of data, right? I
Right.
mean, from across the industry, because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately you would want to, first of all, if you don't understand the product itself, the attributes of the product, right, you'll never be able to. So, like, you can making a product is not difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can literally make 10 different CAR-Ts, as in 10 different targets of CAR-Ts using the same platform process, and you'll be able to get all of those 10 products, like in the bags, like one CD19, BCMA, EGFR, like MUC16,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like all of them, right? You can get all those CAR-Ts in the same process, um, and all of them in the bags. Will they all work same? I don't think so, because you don't know the quality of the, like, you don't understand the attribute of those product and why or how they are important or how that process have changed those attributes. So for you to understand that, it will take a lot of this product or process being approved, more and more characterization becoming available, and
Okay.
then you trend it, right? More and more patients are treated, and you trend to see what's important to actually maintain the efficacy and the quality of the product, and then you design a process that maintains those attributes of target agnostic.
Right.
So yeah,
So how far are we from that?
I think we are far away from that. I would say a few years at the most. I mean, and I'm being optimistic here as well, right? Because again, I think few things will have to happen, right? I mean, a companies will have to actually invest more into characterization, like extended characterization, more and more, right? And sharing those data. Like, and not a lot of small companies do that. Like small companies, they're like, oh, it's a CAR-T. Like FDA's approved 5 CAR-Ts. Like, why would our be different? Let's just do what they've done, get it approved, and sell it to some big company, and then we're done. So they'll not invest into more. Why would they? Because they don't have money, and they don't need to. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think if big companies take a charge of these CAR-Ts, they should invest in more characterization of these products. They don't try to find your way to get it approved like in an accelerated manner. Like do more characterization and make it available like as much as you can, so
Mm-hmm.
that we can like the industry can learn from it. So I think that's how, and then and then going to this all these conferences and talking about it will also gonna help. But that's how actually antibody evolved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Monoclonal antibody evolved just in this similar manner.
Yeah.
It might be easier with antibodies because again, it was one modality. It was easier. Like a couple of companies took charge, like Genentech and Lilly were really good at it. Like they shared a lot of data out in the public. They actually trained a lot of FDA reviewers and the overall industry, the regulatory reviewers all over the world on what to look for in this kind of products. And that's how they now, now you can literally produce antibodies and what is good and what is bad. Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you talk about quality, and since now you are into regulations for more than 14 years now, right? What do you think are the really important skill sets that if someone like me who have studied, let's say, for example, biotechnology or biological sciences or microbiology, and who is interested into getting to the regulation side of the industry, what are the skill sets they require and what are the things they need to do to make that career pivot?
I think few things to keep in mind, right? I mean, regulatory affairs is not like a lot of people might think this is a job where you have to be strict, you have to be like you need to know your regulations, and you're like a gatekeeper. You're not, right? I mean, um, this is not the job where like you are constantly saying no to your companies. This is the job where you are actually working with the company to find ways to make what they are doing like faster, efficient, and in compliance with the agencies. And when I say compliance, basically like trying to make sure that the what we are doing is like it's safe and not putting patients at risk. This I think to me I think that is the ultimate litmus test. Like I just think about like if my strategy is this going to like do something that might ultimately put somebody at unnecessary risk.
Hmm.
If the answer is no, then it's worth taking that risk. There are two types of regulatory people, though, right? There is one who are risk averse, and there is one who is risk tolerant,
It's tolerant.
right? I'm the latter one, but you can also be the first one. That's okay. But who cannot succeed in regulatory is somebody who is too rigid and not able to conceive other ideas or even be receptive of other ideas or even actually look for those other ideas that think outside of the box. They won't be successful in regulatory. So you can be risk averse, but as long as you consider other ideas and then you take the approach in a risk averse manner that, okay, you know what, I see like, we are like this, the route that we are taking might be pushing boundary a little bit. So let's take slow step, baby steps. And then like, maybe I'll ask 10 other people, or maybe like, we'll take small steps to actually achieve it. Or, um, the second kind of person is basically what I said, like who I sort of like align myself with is somebody who's just like willing to take a risk, but ultimately they both are going to actually keep something in mind that we are not putting somebody at risk, because
Hmm.
ultimately, yes, like regulatory, you are like the link between the regulations, the compliance, and the company. So you need to make sure that you are not doing something that would put somebody at risk. So yeah, so you need like those. I think that is the important skill set. The second, how to like how to negotiate, right? Negotiate with yourself, negotiate with your company, negotiate with the FDA. You're always negotiating with somebody,
Hmm. Yep.
and day by day, right? Like you are negotiating with a technical scientist who have done PhD on how things should be done, right? Without knowing technical know-how. So that's a skill. You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to convince them to see things your way, or if they are right, then also change your strategy to meet their alliance. Like give and take, um, cross-functional collaboration, matrix leadership, all those terms come alive when you take this job, because
Hmm.
that's basically what you'll be doing.
Hmm.
And lastly, I think so. We touched upon being like the risk nature. We touched upon being open to like how to negotiate, and like how to navigate the gray areas,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes some people want something to be black and white, and it makes easier for them to actually conceive.
Hmm.
But regulatory is not a black and white; it's a gray.
Hmm.
You'll never find like for the problem you're facing, you'll never find the exact solution written somewhere.
Okay.
So it's about like even if you ask carefully, they'll be like, yeah, we kind of agree, but we do not agree. Like, how do you navigate that,
Hmm.
right? So that is how like that is something that you would, and all of these things will come at some point, right? You just have to be able to actually you will have to want to get those skills
Hmm.
to become successful in regulatory, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so to me, I think these are some points that you really want.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to come here.
Yeah.
That's I'm talking about regulatory. Quality might be totally different thing, and I
Right.
can't
Right.
speak on quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. So to wrap this episode up, if I were to ask you, what is that one thing you wish you knew before coming to the US, and it would have made your life much easier in your corporate culture or your corporate life or career so far? What would that thing be?
Oh man, uh, what what would have helped me if I had known before? That's a tough question because well, it's not tough. It's a simple question. I think
There's
it's a
so
simple
many thoughts,
question,
but
but so many thoughts. I kind of have to run
yeah.
through all of them. Like what would have helped me if I had known earlier before coming into US or the corporate life. I mean, I think it's. I think it's. I mean, I don't know if I keep going back to. I think a lot of the skills. Well, I'll tell you that a lot of the things that I did back home really helped me, right? I mean, because I didn't change my personality to come to US. I was who I was in India, and that helped me become successful also in corporate life. Um, I think. Oh, what? So earlier, yes, it was sort of like, I did have that feeling that um, if I want to be successful in the corporate life, I would have to act certain way, right? I have to behave certain way. I have to change myself so much that didn't end up becoming true, right? Because again, but I learned that very early on that you can be yourself, true yourself, and still succeed. Because US might be the only country where like they don't care about it. They don't care about how you look, how you do things personally in your personal life, as long as you get shit done. Like, they'll adore you, right? So that is something that if I had known already before I coming to US, it would have maybe like made a little bit of my life easier in the first earlier part,
Hmm.
because I was trying to like, I was trying to pretend a lot sometimes, right?
Yeah,
I was
trying to
trying to
fit in. Yeah.
pretend to be somebody that I was not. But again, as I said, I got rid of that very, very soon. Um, and I was called out for it too, like through my like other friends, and that you don't need to do this, like like we like you the way you are. So
Yeah, yeah,
so
of
yeah,
course.
that's maybe yeah, just exactly, just be genuine.
Be
Everything will be good.
genuine, be yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's what people want to know. Even if, let's for example, you're interviewing someone today, you want to know who they are, not what they're pretending to be, right? So
exactly,
that's
exactly.
really powerful. Yeah. So I think that were all my questions. If there is anything else for me, I'd love to. And if not, I'm sure this episode is gonna help people who are planning to get into regulatory side of the industry. Maybe it's generic or cell and gene therapy. Hopefully, it's gonna help them and all the international students who are coming in fresh. I'm sure the key takeaway for me and what I feel was very genuine from your end was you sharing, you coming from a background, English not being your, first language, not even second language, right? It's Gujarati, Hindi, and yet you were able to thrive, and now at the position that you are in, I really respect you for that, because it takes a lot out of you in order to get where you are.
Hey,
And
thank you. See, I appreciate you saying all that. I mean, again, as I said, I'm nowhere close to becoming like whoever I want to be, right? I mean, like you always have to chase something, right? Otherwise, life is no fun. But I'll tell you, great kudos to you for doing this. I mean,
thank you.
what I would have loved this kind of platform. I would have loved this kind of podcast before I came to US. Because it would have been really helpful, right? To know things and learn from others at that time. So what you're doing is like, whoever it is reaching, it's definitely helping them. So
Thank you.
great job, amazing
Yeah,
work. So I appreciate that, and
thank you.
thanks for inviting me. I appreciate. I really enjoyed, talking to you.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
could have gone an hour long talking about cell and gene therapy, but I'm afraid we have to cut it here. But hopefully, we'll record some more again in some
absolutely,
time.
absolutely, man.
All right,
Yes.
Deep. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much for your time.
Yeah. Have a
Love
nice day.
talking to you. You too.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Right. Deep. Sorry.